I'm Marcio. I'm originally from Brazil. And now I'm speaking from a beautiful region in the Czech Republic, in the city of Liberec, in the North Bohemian region of the Czech Republic. So please, enjoy your time to look around. Now that you know a little bit more where I come from, I can show you what you can actually study here from our portfolio of accredited study programs. Starting from our bachelor programs, actually you can choose from 5 different directions. The first 2 ones are offered in Czech and English, are business administration, with focus on production management and economic management of relations. The second branch would be International Economic Relations with the focus on travel and tourism and also international trade, both offered in Czech. And the last one would be Information Management, also offered in Czech. Regarding our master study programs, we have 5 different options to offer. The first 2 ones are in Business Administration with focus on management of business processes and marketing and international trade. Those 2 ones are offered in Czech and English. Then you also have Management of Systems Engineering and Informatics. This is offered in Czech. Also you have the Economic Policy in a Global Environment offered in Czech. And the last one is a double degree international program in partnership with the Technická University of Dresden in Germany and International Management offered in English. So, come to our faculty. Cheers! I'm Zdraví!
For 3 decades already, but it is the first time we are holding it in hybrid form. It's green. It's green. Thank you. COVID has been reshaping our lives for 18 months. It has laid some unexpected challenges in front of all of us, but I'm proud to tell you that we have done our best so that all of you who are either personally here at the campus of the Technická University of Liberec or online at your laptops at home, you can enjoy the program of the conference fully and equally. As a sign of an outstanding good reputation of the Liberec Economic Forum, our proceedings have been indexed in the most prestigious global database, the Web of Science, since 2009. Another good sign of how well the Liberec Economic Forum has been doing is the presence of many international contributors, as well as the presence of the chief representatives of the faculty, of the university. Let me introduce you to His Magnificence, Associate Professor Miroslav Březina, the Rector of the Technická University of Liberec. Thank you for coming. Professor Miroslav Žižka, the former Dean of the Faculty of Economics and a current Vice Rector of the Technická University of Liberec. Thank you. Spectabilis, Associate Professor Vladimír Bajzík, the Dean of the Faculty of Textile Engineering. Thank you for coming. Later during the afternoon, you may be able to meet Spectabilis Dr. Osamu Okamura, the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Architecture. And also later in the evening, when he comes back from his business trip, Professor Petr Lenfeld promised that he will appear at our conference. My name is Aleš Kocourek, I am the Dean of the Faculty of Economics, and I will guide you smoothly, hopefully, through the plenary session of the conference. Our special guests and the keynote speakers of this year's plenary session include Associate Professor Monika Palatková, the former Chief Officer of the Czech Tourism Agency and currently the head of the Institute of International Management and Marketing at the College of International Public Relations in Prague. Thank you for coming. Associate Professor Larry Smith, the director of the Problem Lab at the University of Waterloo, Canada, who will be in every detail introduced later by Tony Martínek, a graduate of the Technická University of Liberec and a recipient of Conestoga Award of Merit during their interview. And at last, but definitely not least, Engineer Marek Piško, the Chief Economist of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic. Thank you for coming. Before I pass the word to the first keynote speaker, it is my personal obligation to express my deep gratitude and to thank all of my colleagues from the Faculty of Economics, all our partners, as well as to the guys from Full Art Company for devoting their time, energy and effort to make this event take place. A huge applause for all of you guys. Thank you. Now, with no further delay, let me open the plenary session with the contribution of the Associate Professor Monika Palatková on the recovery on international tourism in 2021 and on. Ms. Palatková, the stage and the audience is all yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, all of you beside me. So first of all, I would like to thank you for your kind invitation, because Liberec and the region of Liberec and Jablonec, it's one of the very nice regions. And my last trip, when I was last time here, it was 2018. It was a completely different situation in international tourism, because we organized Travel Trade Day, event for 100 buyers from all around the world, in tourism, of course, and we presented Czech Republic, especially this region, and it was really exciting, because we tried to open new markets, long-haul markets, and everything was so promising. And nobody could imagine that something like COVID pandemic could interrupt everything and completely change not only the figures, I mean the dynamic of development of international tourism, but especially what we can expect is change or transition of all the sectors. So I think that we have to count with completely different quality of the sector and changes in the next time. So nevertheless, I hope that we will overcome all the difficulties, and that the development of domestic and international tourism will get the dynamic again and will continue again. So my presentation consists of few points of agenda. So let's start with introduction, then to make a summary of what was before COVID in international tourism, especially with focus on economic importance of tourism and basic indicators of international tourism. And then, of course, the some description, some kind of description, what's happening now, because we really live now some transition and changing time in all of the qualities of international tourism. So we should look at the roles of different players in the sector, especially on private and public, because their role differs a little bit, and that's why I would like to tell you something about short-term policies and long-term strategic policies, because what we can see everywhere is or are more or less the short-term policy measures, not the strategic or crisis management ones. Then, of course, it's necessary to monitor steps, not only of different destinations, countries or private subjects, but also of international organizations, because that's really big concentration of know-how from private and public sector. So my inspiration or my analysis consists of analysis of different strategic documents, especially focused on UNWTO, WTTC, and OECD. And then some questions in the part of discussion and conclusion. So what we can see now is really promising development and vision 2030 of international tourism as it was prepared years ago. So you can see that we are now somewhere here. If I try this, 2020. And up to COVID, the vision was really fulfilled completely. The situation, what we are, or what we have now, looks completely different. So not only the steadily growth and increase of international tourist arrivals, but because of COVID, really dramatic drop by 70 or more than 70%. So UNWTO worked on different scenarios, how the international tourism could develop in the next period. So now we can see that probably the scenario number 2 is or was the right one, and that's exactly minus 70% in the volume of international tourist arrivals. What's really incredible, and nobody could believe it years or couple of years ago. Very similar trend is in the international receipts from international tourism. It's, of course, SARS, as on previous slide, global economic crisis, and then the drop after COVID pandemic. Very similar figures we can show also on this slide. And that's about revenue per passenger kilometers. So it's about air transport and development of the figures, sorry, in this sector. So 2020, it's really a dramatic period, and the recovery scenarios count with at least 2 or 3 years to be revitalizing and to get the previous level of global RPK. The methodology, as I already mentioned, of the paper or of the presentation is based on selected papers, selected strategic documents, reviews of UNWTO, United Nations World Tourism Organization, WTTC, World Travel and Tourism Council, and OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Of course, also statistical analysis. And the aim of the paper is to identify crucial quantitative and qualitative changes, trends, and principles of recovery changes in international tourism in the next time. Theoretical background or some keywords how to work with all this information in this presentation. So primarily crisis management, because that's something what's absolutely necessary to do. We can see that all of private companies, of course, had to adapt their processes, their everything to the new crisis situation. Concerning the public sector, you don't find many crisis management scenario concerning tourism, and that's why crisis management and strategic management in such a situation is extremely important. It's connected closely to second point, tourism policy, because without good and strong tourism policy, nobody is able to be resilient against crisis or against some unbalances. transition of the international tourism, that's something what's more connected with qualitative changes, qualitative transformation, qualitative transition. And of course, the roles of private and public sector, it's a really big topic and hot topic to be discussed. Recovery plans of UNWTO, WTTC, or other international organizations, they were already prepared last year, immediately after the pandemic occurred, and we can count with them or with the basic principle of these recovery plans up to these days. And sustainability is last but not least, because sustainability is something what's really connected with all these documents, with all the recovery processes, with all the recovery plans. When talking about international tourism in pre-COVID period, so we have the last completed year 2019. And we can see that the number of international arrivals was approximately 1.5 billion, and receipts from international tourism approximately $1.5 trillion US. And the regional spread of all these figures, of all these indicators, you can see here. Paradox is maybe that the really heavy affected region was the most dynamic, the previous most dynamic, the Asian Pacific region. Europe is, let's say, average, and other regions also. So when looking at the importance of international tourism in the world economy, based on the previous figures, we can say that tourism is approximately affecting the global GDP by 10% in the total impact. So that means that 10% of global GDP, no, not is now, but was in 2019 produced in tourism. If we count only direct impact, it's approximately 4–5%. Very similar figures are typical for employment. So 10% of employees are employed in tourism or connected branches, and in direct impact, it's something like 4 or 5%. So that's the global economy, global world economy. What's also important is to say how important is tourism in the export and how big is its export performance. So you can see on this slide, because if we add to tourism receipts in destinations the expenditures for passenger transport, so we can talk about 7% of global exports on trade and of goods and services. Unfortunately, the later figures are not so optimistic. If we count only commercial services, tourism is actually almost 30% of the export of commercial services globally, or was. So you can see that the position of tourism in the world or global economy was really huge or very important. Compared to other sectors, if we prepare such a benchmark, so you can see that after fuels, chemicals, international tourism is sector or was sector number 3, even before automotive or food. So these were the let's say final figures documenting the position of tourism, international tourism in the global economy. What's also important when we are talking about qualitative changes, qualitative transition, is to mention the subjects or players in the international economy. So not only destinations, but people, of course, private sector, companies, transnational companies or small and medium enterprises, all the range of companies, distribution channels, and of course financial institutions and international organizations. We can say that all of them are somehow affected by the COVID pandemic. So we can say that the system of international tourism is changing now in terms of rules, in terms of roles, in terms of position. Of course, the relations between supply and demand and pricing is something what will be changed as well. Concerning the COVID or impact of COVID on international tourism market, and with more detailed view on this figure, on this graph, we can say that comparing situation in 2018, 2019, 2020, and even part of the 2021, you can see the huge difference. And we will see what will come next. So the figures are really not that optimistic. In following to the previous slide about regional spread, regional distribution of international arrivals or income from international tourism, you can see that all of the regions monitored -70, Asia Pacific, the really most affected region by COVID, even almost 80%. What's really strange. Concerning tourism impact, I mentioned that tourism was really an important player in global economy. So nowadays the situation is different. We can see that there is a drop in global GDP, there is a drop in global employment in tourism direct and indirect branches. And that's something what we can discuss here at the macro level, but it has, of course, impact on ordinary people, ordinary employees, ordinary travelers. The question is what will come next, and what's actually the qualitative transformation, the qualitative transition in private, public sector, who should define and approve tourism policy, including crisis management. Everything is discussed now at the level of international institutions, the biggest international player, but one point is quite clear, that sustainability in terms of economic, social, culture, and even environmental sustainability is the point number one and is the new normal. Because before COVID, everybody talked, when talking about sustainability, okay, this product, this tourism product is so-called normal, and this is sustainable, it's better, it's more green, and I don't know, whatever. Now we can see that strategies of big companies or destination strategies are really tending to promote sustainability, to emphasize sustainable aspects in their products, in communication, in, digitalization, in innovation, and everything. I mentioned short and long-term policy measures because that's exactly the role of public sector. We can see that in Europe or everywhere that the governments, the states took more or less the short-term measures. So that means the steps and tools, financial or non-financial, in labor market, in value-added tax, different financial instruments, loan guarantees, and so on. This is actually a result of analysis of OECD. And marketing. So for the next months or year maybe of COVID pandemic could be sufficient and was necessary to take the sector, to keep the sector, but we have to ask what are the long-term steps, what are the long-term strategies. So we have to think about tourism policy as really a tool, how to manage, how to lead, how to emphasize strategic approach, including crisis management. And we have to talk about exactly the points like innovation, digitalization, education, of course health and hygiene, safety, security, and sustainability. New business models are the business of private sector. Concerning some recovery steps or recovery plans, what to do now from point of view of destination, from point of view of different players in the international environment. We can see the UNWTO confidence index for whole world, which is quite useful because it's a panel of experts and they answer the questions, how do you see the development of tourism in your country in terms of incoming, outgoing, and so on. So you can see that that's not that bad, the prospects and evaluation, but we have to be careful because when looking at the detailed figures, they are depicting the, let's say, development of this index in the time and the regional specifics, let's say. We can see that all of the experts, or the majority of the experts, see that the recovery will come by the end of this year or maybe even next year. So what was different compared to these results of previous year, for example. And this regional view is corresponding to the regional spread and regional drops of international arrivals and receipts, because you can see that Asia-Pacific region is really the region with most pessimistic prediction or estimation. I mentioned several or few strategic documents, so these this is, let's say, a summary of UNWTO and its global guidelines how to restart tourism, primarily from the qualitative point of view. And you can see that number one, provide liquidity and protect jobs. These were exactly the ad hoc and measures, financial, non-financial support for companies. But then number two and following is already about more strategic view in the future. So confidence and expectation of the demand, public-private collaboration, open borders with responsibility, and also harmonization and coordination protocols and procedures for different sectors of tourism, not only hospitality, travel agents, destinations, and so on. New technologies, that's something what is absolutely necessary and connected with innovation and sustainability as a new normal. WTTC, World Travel and Tourism Council, which consists more or less of private companies and the biggest players in the international tourism, you can see that it's very similar to the recommendations or the guidelines of the UNWTO. So it's about working with demand, health and hygiene, innovation, digitization, and of course also sustainability. Both of the organizations emphasize policy recommendations, tourism policy, and not only as a paper, but the real implementation of policy. I studied also the materials of the OECD. OECD is more or less concentrated and focused on small and medium enterprises in terms of tourism. So for OECD, it's important to keep the sector alive. So actually provide some financial, non-financial tools, but also country tourism policy is necessary from point of view of the OECD. So that's really something what we could discuss for hours or for weeks. And after studying all of these documents and statistics, I have to say that there are maybe more questions than answers, because we are talking about the future. So we can of course ask what will be the qualitative changes for different sectors, what should the national policies adopt, not only tourism policy but also transportation policy, regional development policy, and so on, and what's actually role of different players in the market. What's also role of domestic tourism, because even in the Czech Republic we could see this season, last season, how the proportions of the domestic and international tourism dramatically changed, and actually how to strengthen sustainability, green growth, and the resiliency of the whole system at the national level. This year, WTTC, I would say, very well summarized all these steps, and the name of the document is Lessons Learned During COVID Period. And everything what we could see on previous slides is summarized here. So collaboration and coordination, not only between public and private sector, but also internationally. So partnership. Focus on humanity, so that means the aspects of ordinary people, of some support and of working in the labor market, government support, which is fundamental in terms of tourism policy and in terms of crisis management, to set up flexible systems to be more resilient, trust, expectation of all stakeholders, of all travelers, companies, destinations, and of course then the hardware points, health and hygiene as a new normal, which is also completely new. And then also the agenda, the broad agenda of sustainability, mental health, and safe space in the context of home is not always a safe space, and innovation and digital adoption. So this is or these are the points, the highlights as a summary of previous slides. So with this, I will looking forward to your questions and to your points to our discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for an exciting presentation. Now we are open to discussion. So are there any questions before I ask my question? Are there any questions coming from the audience here? Please don't hesitate. Okay, excellent, Daniel.
Thank you very much. My name is Daniel, and I love the presentation. There's something that caught my attention. I said, okay, let me find out. I saw 7%. Is it the export tourism 7% that generated 1.7 trillion US dollars? Did you get my question, please?
No, not that much, because I couldn't understand because of the mask. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you. As I was doing the presentation, something caught my attention, so fascinating, and I love it. And I want clarity on that. I saw 7% export tourism, and I want to find out that this is the 7% export tourism that generated 1.7 trillion US dollars.
Is actually measured by international receipts or receipts from international tourism plus part of international transportation, which is connected with tourism, and this sum is actually compared to the whole volume of trade or export of goods and services. Okay?
Right.
Because it's approximately, in long term, it's approximately 5 to even 7%. If you compare only the tourism or international tourism exports to the exports of commercial services according to balance of payment manual, so you will get almost 30%. But in the long term, is this figure was 25 to 20, 28, 29. Coincidentally, it's very similar figure for the Czech Republic, because this was for the world economy. Yeah. For the Czech Republic is more or less similar.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Oh, we have another one over there.
Thank you. Thank you for your nice presentation. I'm Vera from IHI Zittau. I have a question about the sustainability you mentioned. You mentioned that you see big companies switching their communication strategy. So I was wondering if they only switch communication, or if there's also a change in business operation in regards to measuring and monitoring environmental impact or social impact.
Thank you for your question, because that's really very, very challenging. Sustainability concept from the theoretical point of view, it's quite easy. It's like economic, environmental, and social cultural. But how to project this concept, this theoretical concept in the praxis? That was why I mentioned that before COVID, when actually the dynamic of the international tourism was really incredible, and for example, the Czech Republic, from some long-haul markets, it was 10, 20, even 40%. So nobody cared for sustainability, or not nobody, but very very little share of the players. But now we have to say that we are actually maybe not reconstructed tourism. We are constructing new tourism, new sectors. So the let's say mass tourism, of course that this will be also the case of the next period, but not only people as travelers, but also the companies, they try to prepare some products. They are more, let's say, authentic, more personalized, and with the support of digitalization, with support of ICT. So I mean that sustainability is not only about communication, but it has to start in product development, and then in the distribution systems, in the distribution channels, and also in pricing, because it's also important part of marketing mix, and also, of course, in communication. And we could see the trends the last 10, 15 years, also in the Czech Republic, that some people actually didn't want to buy some mass tourism products where everybody buys package for 1 week to Mallorca with half board, and people tried to search something what's specific, what's not about to get 100 pictures from some city or from some destination, but really live the destination, really understand the destination, and it's something what's visible already in some tourism products, from tourism destinations and even from private companies. So I don't speak about sustainability as that's something what's more green and so on, because it's that so complex term and so complex concept that everything has to, let's say, undergone to this. It's okay? Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we have still some time for another question, if there is any. I was actually about to ask about the sustainability, so I'm not ask my question. But if there's anybody else? No. It seems like there are no further questions, so thanks again. Thanks again for a great presentation. Let me congratulate you that.
Thank you. Oh, I'm really honored. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, as I have already mentioned, the second keynote speaker is the Associate Professor Larry Smith from the University of Waterloo in Canada. He was interviewed by Tony Martinek last week, so that we and him don't have to face the difference in the time zones. So now you may enjoy their very inspiring interview right now. It's going to be from a totally different cup of tea. Let's enjoy it together.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and honor to address you on the occasion of your conference, and another great pleasure to introduce Professor Larry Smith from the University of Waterloo. Larry Smith has now begun his 41st year as a faculty member at the University of Waterloo, which is, by the way, the largest engineering school in Canada. He's an adjunct associate professor in the Department of Economics and the Conrad School of Entrepreneurship and Business. He has now taught more than, and listen carefully to the number, more than 23,000 students, representing 10% of the university alumni and 20% of the engineering alumni. This is some record. He's a recipient of the university's Distinguished Teaching Award and of an honorary degree from Conestoga Polytechnic, known as Conestoga College Institute of Technology and Advanced Learning. Larry is the founding director of the university's Problem Lab, who is a specific institution. When you think about it, it has a sole mandate to help students understand important issues and problems in industry and businesses. So that's about Larry. He will tell you a little bit more in just a minute or two. Now, a few words about Conestoga, since Larry has been instrumental in identifying, managing, and or evaluating a number of applied research projects that the two institutions work jointly on. Conestoga is ranked among Canada's top research-oriented colleges and polytechnics. Over the past 5 years, the college and its public and private partners have committed over $35 million to support applied research and innovation. Larry will specifically mention a very successful project called Skills Dialogue, funded by the Government of Canada and developed jointly by the university and Conestoga. Collaborating with Conestoga, you know, some people may ask, what does collaboration with Conestoga or university what does it bring to the industrial partners? Well, there is a very simple answer to this. Conestoga and University of Waterloo provides industry and community partners access to, first, faculty expertise, student employees, and the college's extensive lab spaces and equipment. On the other hand, applied research projects are also integrated into the curriculum. And that's the advantage that both the university and Conestoga have, that students are actually developing their skills, not just by following some theoretical examples in books, but by working on actual industrial project, which makes the whole process of learning much more interesting. One last mention, over the past few years, and I'd like you to know that a number of engineering students from Technical University of Liberec studied for one semester at either Conestoga or the University of Waterloo. And likewise, the same number of Canadian students from the University of Waterloo and Conestoga spent one semester at the Technical University of Liberec. So there is a close cooperation between Waterloo, Conestoga, and Technical University of Liberec. And as a graduate of Technical University of Liberec, I'm really pleased with all of that. So for those of you whose mother tongue is the same as mine, I'd like to say, dámy a pánové, je pro mě potěšením a velkou ctí, že vás můžu oslovit. Přeju vám krásný den do Liberce a velice úspěšnou konferenci. So long.
Thank you very much, Tony. It is my honor to be introduced by such a distinguished colleague. Tony is the retired Dean of Engineering for Conestoga College, and he and I, as he said, have worked happily on a number of projects, and it speaks directly to the topic that we have in mind this afternoon. I'm an applied economist. Tony has already commented on the applied work of the college, and of course UW is also a highly applied institution because of the size of its engineering faculty. But what I want to discuss with you this afternoon is the power of innovation and the need for community support. I've been asked by the conference organizers to speak about the experience in Waterloo region. We're a relatively small community. We're made up of an amalgamation of a number of smaller cities. We have a population of just over 500,000, which is not large by anybody's standards, not even ours, never mind European standards. Yet notwithstanding that, we are home to a large number of very successful enterprises. The industrial base of the community is highly diversified, growing very strongly. A lot of very large technology firms here, both large multinationals, like, for example, Google. But we also have a number of homegrown companies like OpenText, also with named facilities here. And the students of the University of Waterloo and Conestoga work for some of these great North American iconic companies. And indeed, our former students work around the world. I'd like to talk about why we have a particularly strong innovation and entrepreneurship community here. And again, to the extent that this is useful as models for other places. I must, however, say that if you actually think that there's a single easy way to nurture an entrepreneurial, innovative environment in the community, there is no instant way to do it. I want to just give you a quick review of the opportunities and collaborations that go on in Waterloo region. In the first place, it is a strong support from the local culture. As I've gotten older, I've learned more and more how the importance of culture is in terms of defining how a community operates, how it comes together, or whether it does not come together. This community, for the past 100 years, has had a reputation of innovation and entrepreneurship. For a small town, and we're surrounded by prime agricultural land in Canada. We don't have a lot of it, but it happens to be near us here. And in this agricultural community, you would think it just bunch of farm children and some small manufacturing. And what it has is done pioneering work. So while we're home to for example, BlackBerry, started by one of my former students, we're also home to Electrohome, which was the company that pioneered radio broadcasting in Canada. So here it isn't that we have both old wireless, old radio, and new radio spanning over about 50 years. So we do understand that people do create innovations and entrepreneurs because of role modeling. They see other men and women like them, and they say, why can't I do the same thing? So in the 1930s, we're pioneering radio in the middle of a depression, which is not, it was a global depression. It's not, Tony, a particularly good time to be launching anything. I'm going to talk about the skills dialogue Tony referred to in a moment. And we actually were able to interview some of the family that were part of that original initiative. But in the middle of the Depression, for example, a long time ago, we also built some homemade insurance companies. Now today, everybody knows fintech, financial industry, big important stuff. Yes, but we got to it. This little community, the middle of nowhere, is doing pioneering creations of financial institutions. So a number of insurance companies have their home here, were started here, and grew here. One of the, excuse me, and as not just insurance companies, we also decided that there should be a trust company, created by local people, going to serve local people. It will turn into what's called Waterloo Trust originally, then turns into Canada Trust, turns into TD, and TD is one of Canada's largest banks. So again, Waterloo region, for some interesting reason, is never at the end of a technological trend. When something new is happening, it is there in the very beginning. In the 1900s, for example, early 1900s, the car is now a new invention, and nobody knows whether automobiles are going to be just playthings for rich people and will always be priced out of the range of the average person. Henry Ford thinks they should be a mass market product. Now, everybody, any community in the world, oh, if they can have a car company, they want a car company. Oh yes, Toyota is going to come. It's all very exciting. In this goofy little community, in the middle of, kind of, even the geography is not interesting. We have a river, but it's not very big. We have hills, not even anything that could remotely be called a mountain. Skiing is like, we can do a tiny hill in skiing. Like, you guys have physical advantages that overwhelm us, and you have cities with architecture. We barely have cities. But notwithstanding all of that, on these new ideas that come along. So it's 1900s, and it is always originally local. Sometimes communities grow. Sometimes, of course, multinationals come in and buy the smaller companies, but little ones start, and they start making auto parts. They make auto parts in the 1900s, just after the turn of the century. And we still make auto parts. Some of the old plants are gone. Some of the new ones have arisen. But we've been in the automobile industry since the days of Henry Ford and all the way forward. Now, when we can do automobile production, we've always done agricultural production. We pioneered, for example, one of our company, Schneider's, pioneered packaged foods. You know, the idea that you would buy food already prepared, like in sausages and various prepared meats, instead of having women actually take meat and cook it. So it was, at the time, we now take that for granted, you know, pre-made food in the olden days. But that's radical. That's what a decision maker does. That's what a visionary sees. And in a small community where you wouldn't expect it, still, Schneider's is one of the primary brand names of packaged meats in Canada, arising from that venture. Here's another peculiarity. This local community also had grocery entrepreneurs. Now, how can you have a grocery entrepreneur, since it's a fairly basic idea, selling groceries? Yes, you can. In this community, again, local people, the idea that these are local business persons who are role models to other local business persons. So a local business person wants to start a grocery store. That's a stupid thing to do, because in Canada at the time, grocery trade is monopolized by several very large companies. Loblaws was one, A&P was the other. Some of the names, Dominion, with Tony and I recognize, they're gone because they're lost in the mist of time. But so would you, if you were 1950, and you're arrayed against monopolist grocers, would you start a local grocery store? Well, if you have a better idea, you do, and they did. They started grocery stores. This community likes local stuff, so they supported them. One store started by Mr. Zaire. It's one store, gets lots of customers, 2 stores, 3 stores, 5 stores, whole bunch of stores, and the big chains, the big monopolist chains, they close. And in this local community, Loblaws is not a brand name. It is in Toronto. It is in the rest of Canada. Now, Loblaws ended up having to buy the local chain, and they keep the name, for example. You've seen Walmart superstores, you know, where you sell food and every other kind of thing under the same roof. Yeah, remember the Highway Market, Tony?
Yes.
Yes, Highway Market. A local entrepreneur said, you know, that's a good idea. People come to buy groceries every week. Why don't we sell them shoes? Why don't we sell them toys? Why don't we sell them other stuff? So if you think Sam Walton invented superstores, you're wrong. Because in the 1950s, that kind of goofy store is running here. Big, huge, sprawling kind of thing, and was had a great, overwhelming success. Is eventually also bought by one of the chains. Pioneering idea after pioneering after idea after pioneering idea. And that's how communities grow. And the public also contributes. Public agencies work, public support. So these are true collaborations with support of local governments, support of provincial governments, and occasionally support of federal government, all contributing in different ways to contribute to this community. But there's a fundamental inherent culture. So when Mike Lazaridis is thinking he should create research in motion, and which will turn into BlackBerry, he has role models in this very community, not role models from thousands of miles away, not role models from other countries, role models from the community in which he is embedded. And that is true for the men and women who live and also come to study here. I'd like to now comment on the fact that one of the issues is, of course, skills training, and to make sure that we have the people technically trained who are able to do it. Now, Tony and I, of course, have worked on, because we're both at educational institutions, we've worked on common projects. But let me just pause for a moment to just finish one other entrepreneurial story. And that is, of course, of the creation of our institutions. Conestoga College has a different, or was part of a large initiative by the Minister of Education, who decided that there should be applied education with job ready. At the same time, they were developing the universities. So there was already a government model. That was, this education minister is oddly enough just passed away as an extremely elderly person. And he envisioned that there should be 2 main streams of post-secondary education in which everybody would be involved in one or the other. So minimizing just going to high school or secondary school and leaving into the workplace. You will get skills in one place or the other, depending on your aptitudes and your interests. Conestoga has, for example, thrived. I have an honorary degree from Conestoga College, of which I am proud, as well as degrees from other places. But the point is, a college has thrived with all of these collaborations because in this community, the business community is very supportive. They will involve themselves in college activities. They will support college expansion. The college has expanded. It's been a great pleasure to me to watch the college expand. Tony, for example, has been involved in the preliminary work to get Conestoga College to have an engineering certified program. So Conestoga College also educates and graduates professional engineers as licensed by the province of Ontario, consistent with those requirements. And that's an important accomplishment which would not have happened without private sector support. But then the government did also play its part. This kind of intense collaboration takes time and takes patience. I reiterate that trying to do this in a short period of time is like trying to do magic.
Well, one of the, if I can sort of jump into it now, you know, one of the reasons for such a close cooperation between technical educational institutions and industry and businesses outside is the fact that both university and Conestoga are using the so-called cooperative educational program. It means that students will receive several semesters during their studies by doing actual work in industry. So, and frequently, some of the work, you know, they do at school comes straight, you know, from the companies. Absolutely. And the company comes in and say, and would say, there is a problem, we need some help, could you sort of jump on it, you know? And so the students are actually learning new skills, new engineering skills by working on real engineering problems, rather than studying sort of books, one book after another, you know, and then having entered the unit, the industrial company, you know, they say, oh my God, and what is this? So both schools are known throughout the world about the cooperative education. And I had the honor and opportunity several years ago of making a major presentation along with several people from the University of Waterloo at the ČVUT in Prague. The conference was attended by the president of ČVUT, rector, and ČVUT rector from Liberec and a couple of others. And we felt that there was a strong interest in cooperative education. So I just wanted to make sure, you know, that that's one element that you need to have in order to support and nurture active and productive cooperation with industry.
Absolutely. And it does mean you have to have faith in young men and women's ability to rise to those challenges. And both of our institutions have pioneered that. The University of Waterloo is also an initiative driven by local business persons from the beginning. 1950s, they decided there would be a shortage of technically trained people. Yeah. We want to create a university now as well. And of course, as Tony just said, like, cooperative education is the heart of it because, for example, I've been at the university, as Tony said, a long time, and I got to know the founding president of the University of Waterloo, Gerald Hagee, and he and his colleagues, business persons, saw this opportunity. So again, you see, in a community that just really does have this visioning thing down, they talked about, okay, what are we going to do? So we need these educational institutions. The private sector will contribute, and we'll lobby to get public support for this as well. Now, part of this, of course, was the recognition that if we're going to do this, there's another university in the community, for example, and in Guelph, there's about half hour's drive away, there's another university. How are we going to? We have to do something different, and that was cooperative education. And when we pioneer right now, Waterloo is the largest co-op program in the world. We place more than 20,000 students and more than 6,000 employers. And right now I'm sitting in the engineering complex where my office is. And within approximately 8 weeks, some of our first year students who are 18 are going to actually sit in co-op interviews, because the employers still interview them to hire them. They're going to have to buy real shoes as opposed to athletic shoes, dress professionally, and this will be the first job interview they had. They're 18, and they're doing this within 6 weeks of arriving at the institution. So our students have hit the ground running. Now, they've proven to us, as in similar situations in the college. I want to comment on one of the projects that Tony and I worked on called the Skills Dialogue, just to give you a flavor for the kind of intensive, constant, collaborative projects which have to unfold. And as part of that, for instance, we developed the Skills Dialogue. It was funded by the Government of Canada, as Tony said, and what it involved was interviews with senior executives in advanced manufacturing. And in these companies, we wanted to understand what skills they wanted from our graduates, right? Because at the end of the day, this isn't going to work if we graduate people who either can't get a job or get a job and then have to spend another 5 years learning how to be useful to the employer. So, and we wanted to talk to senior people. This is not discussing with HR managers. We want to talk to the people who are in charge, and to make sure we got credible guidance. Part of this was we would talk to senior executives who are older. Now, the last thing we do is say a young face to ask an old face about really an important question. You're not going to get a good answer. We both know that. They'll pat the young person on the head and give them a bunch of cliches. But for example, Tony, together with some of his colleagues, as senior engineers, were interviewing these executives. We got high quality answers. And it told us extremely useful things about how to shape the curriculum of our respective institutions. For one thing, the executive said, and this was so useful for us, that while they want us to try to stay reasonably up to date with the technology, but fundamentally that was not our job, that was their job. And they saw a clear demarcation. Their job is they struggle themselves to keep track of the technology and the leading edge. How can we do it? The advanced manufacturing, so they have to constantly be reinventing themselves. We can't do that at the same pace. What we can do, and what they wanted us to, are the fundamentals. Get the fundamentals right so the student can learn quickly, so they can respond quickly. The co-op, of course, again, gives them that applied hands-on experience, but that was so important. They also wanted interdisciplinary skills, which of course is supported by an orientation on on fundamental education. We were afraid. Going in, you don't know what's going to happen. That's real research. We would have reported whatever we heard, but I was a bit concerned as a teacher that they would ask for either unrealistic things or narrow, precise, short-term things. My job as a faculty member, as Tony's, is we're interested in the long-term welfare of our students. We are not serving our responsibility if we just worry about the next 5 years of a student's life. We're supposed to be providing them the foundation stones so they can be productive men and women for their whole lives, so they can thrive and they can adapt. Because there's no way either of us knows what the world will be lousy 5 years from now. We're all masked and coping with pandemic issues, as you are as well. However, the point is, we need highly adaptive societies. We need highly adaptive populations. The Skills Dialogue told us that at least at the senior management level, they are aware of what they need to do. They're aware of the challenges. They want communication skills from the students, which we do struggle with because young men and women don't like to learn communication skills because they think they have them already when they don't. But that was extremely useful to us. We don't want to. Time is precious. Our students' time is as precious as ours. We don't want to waste anybody's time. So that kind of groundwork, it takes patience to do it. If we have a theme this afternoon is you must have patience. You have to build these projects step by step. You need to bring in as many collaborators as you possibly can. Just to give you another example of the degree of the collaboration we can work out here, Waterloo as an institution is physically in Waterloo, the city. and Cambridge, Conestoga starts at the Doon campus, right, Tony? Starts at Doon, which is in the city of Kitchener, sort of. It's on the edge of the city of Kitchener. Now, but we have other municipalities. They started to think, how come we have a branch of the college? So they actually supported, for example, a new campus in Cambridge, and the city of Cambridge provided some financial support. That wasn't, well, they helped with the land assembly. It was an important thing to do. So now there's 250,000 square foot new engineering building because the city collaborated. Of course, Conestoga can't do it without private sector collaboration. They got it. They got senior governments to contribute. Now there's an example of how a municipal government, the local government, actually put serious money behind this kind of initiative. And there's a campus in Guelph, another community. The University of Waterloo, because we're in Waterloo City, Kitchener got all agitated because there was nothing, no part of the University of Kitchener. How outrageous. So they gave us $30 million and a chunk of land. So our School of Pharmacy is now down to Kitchener, and we are building our main incubator for entrepreneurship called Velocity is going on in, oddly enough, a disused tire factory warehouse. The tire factory, long gone, part of those earlier auto parts companies. And we're recycling the warehouse to house our incubator, and we're calling it the Innovation Arena. Also supported by the City of Kitchener and the Province of Ontario and the Government of Canada and the private sector, only together will that work. We urge you, for those of you interested in this field, to develop those kinds of collaborations and to hang in there. Patience, collaboration after collaboration. That's how you build and reinforce a culture that may already be there.
Hello. At the moment, I'm the only guy in the auditory. So, but I would like to make one question to Larry and Tony. Hello, Larry and Tony. It's nice that we have the chance to have you in our plenary session. My question is, who is initiator of all that moves? Because you talk about teams where are business people, economists, technicians, technologists, who is initiator and who is the leader in this collaboration teams?
Well, I'll begin, and then Tony should comment. One of the secrets, and I would not say this if it wasn't true. It's going to sound a little like diplomatic or something, but I want to give you the most honest answer. And I've been in this community now for decades, and as Tony has as well. And there are leaders here, but there's more than one. And most of the leaders are collaborative. So there isn't a single, like you can't find a single person and say that person's responsible for the success. There's a whole array of people, some gone and some still participating. For example, the mayor of the city of Kitchener was really insightful with respect to making commitments to downtown Kitchener, and that's why the School of Pharmacy is there. He provided leadership for the local council. Yet other people on the campus here provided leadership with respect to, well, let's have a School of Pharmacy. Same kinds of things with Conestoga College. They have a very effective president, but there's a team of people who also, including of which Tony was one. And so that actually is in my mind the secret of it. If you have just one person trying to push everything and get a whole bunch of other people following, that doesn't work as well as having multiple players, some public, some private. There were some public servants who also saw the opportunities that could arise in Waterloo region. So some of the money from the province came to us, to both of our institutions, because they saw we had a new model. So for Ontario, the public service in Ontario thought it would be useful to support Conestoga's, for example, project-based engineering programs, which are somewhat different from ours, to give variety to students. So I have to say, with all honesty, you need collaboration and you need leadership across the board. You need public service leadership, political leadership, you need financial leadership, you need academic leadership, you need teachers like us, you need other administrators, all marching to the same to the sound of the same drummer. We want to help people increase the impact they can have on their society, but give them the skills, experience, and resources they need to be effective. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to the conference. In an ideal world, we would do this in person, but we can't, so we appreciate that. And I'm going to let Tony conclude in the Czech language, which I can't do, so I'm not going to try. Tony?
Thank you. Thank you.
No. Well, before I say anything in Czech language, you know, I'd like to add one other thing to what Larry has just outlined. You have to realize that once you start this intensive cooperation, including every element of the process, you know, starting with education, then manufacturing, you know, business, you know, sort of marketing, you know, then suddenly, you know, you have a cultural change, you know, and this is, you know, what, for example, cooperative study does. And Larry hasn't mentioned it as yet, you know, but yet another positive outcome of all of this is the number of companies, startup companies that suddenly start developing, you know, from, you know, the students, they finish 4 or 5 years of study. They already have a clear plan ahead of them as to how they are going to start, how they are going to become an extension of, for example, the company they work with, how they are going to be on their own. In other words, you know, there is a strong support for individual sort of examination of opportunities and establishment of SME, small sort of manufacturing companies. You know, you cannot have it if you have an independent and separated and isolated educational institution, an independent, separated and isolated industrial complex. You know,
absolutely.
So I think, you know, that we succeeded here in this region. We succeeded, and I'm sure, you know, we are not the only ones, you know, but in Canada, we definitely, this region is definitely has done a lot of pioneering work. You know, so.
In one of my pieces of work with the college, for example, we documented more than 2,000 of their former students operate their own businesses, which is an impressive number by anyone's standards. Yeah. So, Tony, yes. In Czech, shall we wrap up?
Dámy a pánové, bylo pro nás, pro mě i pro Larryho velkým potěšením a ctí, že jsme mohli přispět vaší konferenci. Možná, že by bylo dobře, kdyby jako určitou odměnu, kdyby prostě konference posoudila možnost poslat hlavně Larrymu, ne mě, protože já to znám. Larrymu prostě takzvaný 13. pramen z Karlových Varů, prostě jednu láhev becherovky.
Now he's making me nervous because I heard my name and
we will arrange it. Děkujeme moc.
We appreciate this opportunity to speak to the conference. Have a great time.
Great time. Thanks. Bye.
So once again, I would like to thank the both of these guys, Larry Smith and Tony Martinek, as well as Jarda Demel, the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Economics, for preparing this interesting conversation, let's say, or interview. And now the time is up for our third keynote speaker, Engineer Marek Pisko, the Chief Economist from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, who has arrived to present you the latest development in the economic diplomacy of the Czech Republic. Now the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Kozorek, for the invitation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to this conference. Actually, I'm here on behalf of the Deputy Minister Martin Tlapa today, who is on his business trip to Saudi Arabia and Egypt. And I would like to add one point to my beginning. I mentioned that it's a very special day for Liberec today. that you are not only hosting this conference, but you are also hosting a farmers market with undervaluated prices on your main square from the SPD party. So it's a very special day. And I heard when we were coming around, I heard that there is also a beer drinking game, so you can all surely join after. But coming back to global economy and my presentation, today I would like to speak about how we at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs look at what is happening in the world after, especially how the pandemics changed the global economy, and also what was the impact of the pandemics on the Czech Republic and its state services, especially within the economic diplomacy. So if we look at if we look at the real GDP growth data around the world, we can see already some trends that are resulting from them. Like the most significant trend is dominance of Asia. Some countries like China that didn't even decrease or declined in 2020. You can see robust growth all around the Asia and Pacific countries. So this is the part of the world that is considered as a winner of the crisis up to now. We don't know what will happen, but if you compare the data or the numbers, for example, with Europe, some specific countries, these countries were very hit very hardly by the pandemics, and it's also proven by the data. So we see a slow rebound in Europe, that the growth will come around 2022. America, together with the Latin America, is doing quite well, even if Latin American countries decreased quite a lot in 2020. And Middle East countries and Africa is the part of the country that was hit probably the most by the pandemics. And I have another figure or map here. I recently found a research about the Economist Intelligence Unit, and they made a model that the pace of the vaccination that is slow in some parts of the world, and these parts of the world are the parts that were probably hit the most by the pandemics, will have effect of $2.3 trillion US dollars between 2022 and 25 on the world economy. And just to somehow show the amount, the extent of the amount, it's 2.2 trillion is equal to annual GDP of France. So this is what will really divide the world, and what will really set like a new setting in the world, and probably will divide the regions much more than before the crisis. We made a research or analysis at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we looked with our embassies what are the key effects of the pandemics. And one of the key findings were that the old problems were accelerated or enhanced. We are speaking about financial problems. So the countries that already had some problems in financial, social, or health system, they were accelerated, and now they are suffering quite a lot. Also, the countries that were highly dependent on one sector, that is what Ms. Palatkova was speaking about. If, for example, if you compare the countries in the European Union that were hit most by the pandemics, you'll find at the end the countries that are very highly dependent, especially on the tourist sector, like Portugal, Spain, Croatia. So these are one of the outcomes. On the side of geopolitics, we see a large influence of China. China used the mask diplomacy, the vaccine diplomacy together with Russia. On the other hand, European Union was trying the same with this vaccine diplomacy, and even if quite a large amount of resources was used, we didn't see as large effect as, for example, in terms of China. So we see a little geopolitical shifts also a weakening of some of the international structures like the UN, WHO, G20, or UN. Also, the last point I would like to stress is that we see approach of selective multilateralism. This is that the countries are choosing only what is convenient for them at this time on the international level, and we see a large increase in international cooperation by that. Speaking about the protectionism, and this is the last point. Sorry, this is the last point I wanted to stress. Besides geopolitics, we also see a large amount of protectionism measures, not only on like the key sectors or the strategic sectors, but we see that spreading, and we also see increasing role of regionalization, and I'll speak a little bit more about this trend. And speaking about regionalization, there is a figure, or there is a picture that we are using it even before the pandemics, and it shows how the global it was researched by the Business Sweden in 2019, and they were trying to show how the world economy will look like in 2035. So, like, the key message of this map is that the world is shaping from west to east. Like, if we look, for example, at Asia, the distribution of a global GDP increased, or according to this model, was about to increase from 35% to 43%, while the American or the European are both decreasing from 28 to 24 in terms of America, and 26 to 21 in terms of Europe. So, the core of the economy, of the world economy, is shaping, and Czech Republic, as an open, export-oriented country, should be very much aware of this. And I'm coming back to the trend of regionalization. What is this study about? It's about preferring the cooperation within regions than to cooperation on a global level. And there are many factors why the countries were doing that before the crisis. And I'm using this because one of the key results of the crisis was that the things were speeded up. Not only digitalization and other factors, but also the geopolitical or the international economic shifts. So the regionalization trend, what we saw before even was really speeded up, and now we are seeing that the traditional value chains were affected by the pandemics. We saw that the just-in-time model was broken. We see that the consumers are really considering moving some of the factories back to Europe, Asia, or to the region to be able to use these, for example, strategic sources when there is a crisis. So we were speaking about it before, and now the crisis all showed it up and speeded it up. So the real trend of regionalization is something that we register, and for the Czech Republic, it's crucial to react to this. Finally, you can see that the world is kind of shaping to Asia, and Asia is really a region that we should focus on, and it shows also this chart, or this study by the WTO, where you can see how the countries are shaping in terms of trade in between 2009 and 2019, and you can see some of the Asian countries that are highlighted here, such as Philippines, Vietnam, Hong Kong, or China, that are really doing great, and they are advancing a lot. And one of the examples is Vietnam, that recorded the biggest increase in the world. So Asia is really the continent where we should look. in the future. The good news, or what a lot of people don't know, is that Czech Republic in this chart, or in this ranking, marks among 30 largest importers as well as exporters in the world in terms of merchandise trade. And I will speak more about the Czech trade later. Here are some of the other outcomes of the study that we made between embassies. It's a really large study, and I'm keeping here all the points. So surely the presentation will be available after the panel. But I would like to stress 5 most important outcomes on Czech diplomacy and economy that we found out. One of them is the growth of polarization and the perception of globalization. The national, I already touched it. The national states were fighting the pandemics basically by themselves, not on the global, not on the European level. The states closed their borders, and they were responsible for their citizens. This is one of the outcomes, but in my opinion, this is temporary, and I think the world will come back to cooperate on the global level, because the amount of connection between the countries is simply not possible to somehow change in these settings and in this very globalized world. The second point I would like to stress is with an impact on the EU and the lower resilience, especially against fake news, conspiracy theories. And together with the large indebtedness of the EU, you can already see it on one side on the numbers, on the economic numbers. But if we take these soft things such as conspiracy theories, we have to say that EU did not do very well during the crisis. On the other hand, if we look at non-European countries, this is my third point, we see a large or growing influence of the state, and we can see it not only within the social or the control of the citizen, but also in the economy. We see it on the public procurement, that it's now getting much more difficult for foreign companies to compete for the public procurement, especially in countries such as Russia or China. So yeah, this and one last point, we see stronger emphasis on the regional cooperation, and that's what I have already mentioned. According to speaking about the pandemics and the Czech economy, one point that I would like to stress here is that the perspective sectors now are not only within the growing technologies or the new technologies such as e-mobility, energy, etc. But we see three types of demand in the world. One of them is directly connected to COVID, and it depends on the continent, on the level of development of the country, but these sectors or this demand is directly connected to what the COVID shown that doesn't work in the country. This is one type. The second one that we see is connected to investment. We see massive fiscal stimulus. So these are all the sectors that, for example, were not that prioritized in the past, but that they are remaining like the traditional sectors such as mining, conventional energy, but also some of the countries like in Africa or Latin America found out that they need to invest, for example, in the export of primary sources. So they are trying to somehow add value to the exported to the goods that they were only exported before. So this is the demand connected to investment. And third one that we see some of the strategic and long-term projects that were not affected by COVID are still here, and the demand is still there. It's, for instance, railway industry, traffic, etc. So these are 3 types of demand that we see in the world. And the last point that I would like to stress is the deglobalization and regionalization again. And the point that I highlighted here as a red is that there is a need for permanent presence in the world, and we really need to move from one-off exports. I will speak more about this in the following part. So I have already mentioned how crucial, or how Czech Republic stands in the world ranking between the largest importers and exporters, and how important the Czech export really is for the Czech Republic is also shown on this chart. You can see that in the Q3 to 2020, when there was a beginning of the crisis, Q2, the GDP quite of copied the export curve, and that's because of this one is affected by the automotive industry. So you can see how really export can shape and can influence the Czech GDP. And yeah, the numbers also speak for itself, because Czech export is equal to 80% of our GDP. So this is how it is important for us. This chart only shows how it's a good news for us that we are able to, if we compare the data of exports with the financial crisis in 2008, we are able to rebound quite fast after 8 months, and we are still below the level, pre-pandemic level. What does all this, what is happening in the world? What does it mean for the Czech Republic, and for the what do we have to do? So another virus mutation that we still don't know if they exist. I heard that there are some others that are waiting for us. So there is a need of state assistance. The state assistance with traveling, also the importance of representation abroad, of our embassies abroad, really grow during the pandemic, because the embassies served as someone who can meet the local partners abroad, who can do some job for the companies or for the entrepreneurs that couldn't travel. Protectionism, regionalization, reshoring. So we really need to move from one-off exports to permanent presence in the country. I'll speak more about this in the next slide. There is a change in the demanded sectors. I already mentioned some of the demand, but what we need to do, it's our homework. We need to add value to our exports. We need to engage even more in the support of export abroad, and we need to engage more the business association that we have here in Czech Republic to work with the companies abroad, such as for example the Germany does with their chambers of commerce. Last point at this slide is that there is increasing instability in the developing countries, both political, financial. So there is a growing importance of foreign development cooperation, and with this cooperation we don't only somehow help, of course, but of course it's important, but we also can present the Czech Republic in the world with our products, and we can seek perhaps some contracts in the future. So this is the importance of foreign development is very important, but we have to keep in mind that we can use it as a benefit for our companies as well in the future. What is the key to efficient economy and the success in foreign markets after the pandemics? I would like to say that it is really crucial for the Czech economy and the prosperity of the country to make sure that we follow the trends. I mentioned some of them, and the key to succeed in foreign markets for the Czech Republic lays on the structural change of the economy, of course. So we have to support companies that they have their own products, their own brand, and and we call it the headquarters country. We need to support these companies that makes the added value here in Czech Republic, and the final production and or the products with real high value are distributed all around the world. Basically, we have to move from sub-supplier economy to the economy with final products. It is it's very common. I know it's used very often. Sometimes you hear, or very often you hear, that we need to get from the addiction on European market, on EU market, because we are exporting now 79% to the EU market. But we are coming a little bit deeper, and we think that we know how to change it. So, but there are many more levels. There is like a public level. There is also private level that is very important, and there are like a very large and structural things in the Czech economy that we need to change to the past. Basically, yeah, we call it homeworks for the Czech Republic, and on the private side there is a crucial need for automatization, robotization, and digitalization in the industry. For the Czech state, the homework is we need to change the business environment. We need to ease it. And we need to basically we say that we have to look at the competitiveness index. And you can see the homeworks for the Czech state from there. So, yeah, so we really need to change the business environment. And last but not least, we need to increase public investment into R&D startups and the companies that are able to generate the added value, that are able to fulfill the brand or this center of the slide, that the Czech Republic would become the headquarters of the country. From the point of view of the Czech economic diplomacy, we see like four crucial pillars for the permanent presence. That is like the result from the Czech Republic, the country of headquarters. As I've said before, the world is regionalizing. So the key to stay competitive for the Czech Republic is not only like to make all the homeworks that I have said, but also to be present in the foreign markets and to turn from the one-off exports. We saw it in terms of the NAFTA treaty that was renegotiated, that the amount of the products that are made in the specific region, I think they were 10% higher than in the old treaty. So we see trends, or we see tendencies to make the world more like regionalized, or to protect the countries or some specific markets. So the key for us, what can we do? We can, for example, move part of the company abroad. We can move part of the production abroad. We can open an office in some specific region, and that is what we call the permanent presence in foreign markets. So yeah, we have to start from the homeworks, and then to be able to stay competitive, we have to turn from one-off exports to the permanent presence. How to do it? What can we do within the state or state services or within the economic diplomacy? So we are. It's obvious that the embassy service is crucial for this. We are in this time. We are helping, for example, the interpreters with the service business travels. So we are trying to help with the diplomatic tools to travel to specific countries, or for the companies that want to travel, or they want to send some of the workers here to the Czech Republic. So this is one of the tools. We call it state services. So providing basically services all that the companies might need in a specific time. Also, the PROPED, it's called PROPED in Czech, but it's basically a project of economic diplomacy, and it's a large amount of projects that we are trying to make the companies competitive in the world by both incoming or outgoing missions to the Czech Republic. The second pillar is information. We believe that especially this time, having validated, updated information is very crucial for Czech firms, and we can use our apparatus of our embassies in the world that are living in this specific territories that can provide them. So we believe that information is one of the key tools. Also, the pillar that I have already touched is B2B cooperation. So we believe that there should be cooperation, or the support of the economic diplomacy support, the support in the foreign markets should not come only from the state, but there should be also business associations and entrepreneurs by themselves involved. So one of the projects that we started last year is PROPEA, and it's based on the partner that we have in specific countries. There is a company that can help the Czech company with establishing their business, or helping with some specific requirements in that country. The most important is that it's a local partner, it's a local company that is validated by the embassy, but it is available for the Czech companies. The second point is business centers. We call it business centers because that's something that works in Germany, and it's based totally on B2B cooperation between the companies that are represented by the Chamber of Commerce in Germany. So it's like a help of it's some kind of added piece of the foreign representation to the whole model. For example, in terms of Czech Republic, it's all based on the state support. So this is like a business added piece of this to the whole ecosystem. Last but not least, foreign development cooperation. We believe that it not only helps, but it's also help to enter Czech companies, some foreign markets. Yeah, that I have already. I think I have already mentioned this. I don't know what's my time, because I started. 7 minutes. Okay. So, what are the outcomes? I would very swiftly like to go through some of the outcomes, meaning what the economic diplomacy does. So, as I've mentioned, the services. For instance, we have handled in past year 1,383 company inquiries. Just to put it a little bit into the practice, it's such as solving a problem of supplying a mini bravery in Zambia, or solving a delivery. So this is what we mean as a services. Of course, there is a very large, very important element to these services, and these are the business travel program, because nowadays it was really crucial for the firms to stay in touch with their partners, or to bring the foreign companies here to the Czech Republic. We have KPIs. We are trying to stay in reality, so we are getting evaluated by our customers. Our customers are our companies, and you can see that the quality is being kept at very high level. The ranking 1.05, 5 is the worst and 1 is the best. I think it's not bad. Speaking about the information that we are providing, so there are basically two levels. We are providing sectoral and territorial information. Sectoral is that we are every year, once a year, we are launching a guidebook for exporting and investment for companies that are investing or exporting abroad, and you can find sectoral opportunities from all around the world in this map. Of course, made with cooperation or made by the embassies, by the economic diplomats, together with ministries and associations. So it's a unique set of opportunities, and it's updated every year. The territorial level is that we are providing business information about almost all the countries in the world. Also written by the people at the embassies, so it's from a specific source. You can find general info about economy, business environment, cultural business differences, taxes. So it's not about opportunities as the map, but it's also about risks, about the culture, and it gives you like a basic business guidebook about the country. Also, embassies and economic diplomats are providing up-to-date information about what is happening in the territories. So on the web export.cz, you can find the news about the particular territories, opinions, analysis, or you can find a new if there is information about the demand in specific countries. So that's what we are publishing here. Also, we have our own magazine. It's called MED, Modern Economic Diplomacy. So there are kind of, yeah, the topics are quite larger than these on export, and they are more in detail. So this is our economic news, and I could largely speak about other tools such as Propea or Propet. These are the business missions. Propet I have already mentioned. Propea, sorry, and this is the program that tends to support the companies and their activities abroad. It's a B2B tool. Propet are projects to support economic diplomacy. I'm sure you'll have the presentation available, so you can check all this information if you are interested. And we also try to work on the regional level. So we are cooperating with the Chamber of Commerce, of course, together with the Chamber of Commerce of Liberec. And we are trying to help exporters also on the regional level, together with our regional export specialist. So we are going to the regions as well. Finally, to leave you with some prospects for the future, we prepared together at the Ministry of Affairs 6 tasks for the Czech diplomacy. So the first one is we have to understand which of the past solutions will not work and what is necessary to change. So we have to monitor the key possibilities, opportunities. We have to connect them with the strategic directions of the Czech Republic. That's number one. Number two is about the digitalization. We have to keep in mind that it offers opportunity. But at the same time, most of the foreign investment will be directed to this sector. So we have to really keep it in mind. And plus, diplomacy also needs to move. I showed you some of the tools, how we are trying to move with this digitalization trend. This conference is also an example of it. But we have to keep in mind that this is something that we have to really keep in mind. Third task or point is that we have to promote fair and efficient architecture in the world. We have to cooperate on the global level. We have to discuss about international trade rules, conflict resolutions, and even if the pandemic shows some decline in geopolitics or in the global cooperation, we have to keep in mind that the global architecture and the cooperation on the international level is very crucial for us, and especially for the Czech Republic as a small, open, export-oriented economy. We have to offer comprehensive and affordable solutions in the world, meaning We have already provided this, meaning we are able, as Czechs, we are able to provide the whole hospital. We are able to provide the whole airport. We are able to provide a set of something within defense. So we have to look this way. We have to put companies together. They have to learn how to cooperate, not compete. So this is one of the tasks, and I think also the public administration can play a role in connecting these companies and people together. Fifth, we have to use those opportunities that arise from the pandemics, and we also have to look at the financing. And it all comes together with the presence at the foreign markets, with being competitive. So we have to look at the financing and insurance tools, and we should really discuss them, because most of them are not only pre-pandemic, but I would say pre-21st century. Sixth, diplomacy must act. We have to move from static teams to dynamic national teams abroad, and it means that not only pandemic show that, but economic diplomats and all the diplomats around the world should really search for opportunities. We should really reflect all the new solutions, all the new interests. We should really look how the particular economy, how the region, how the world looks like, and we have to act, and we have to be very flexible with this. So I hope that I have presented some of the dynamic approaches that we are trying to do with our Czech economic diplomacy. Thank you very much for your attention. The presentation will be hopefully available for you, so you can check it if you're interested, and I'm very open to answer any of the questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks again. Thanks for your very nice very exciting presentation, I must say. I'm afraid we don't really have enough time for any questions, as the discussion table should be starting right now, and there should be also some short coffee break. But if you are interested in discussing some matters, I'm sure Engineer Piško is available for you for a couple of minutes at the coffee break. Yeah. So enjoy the coffee break now and come back for the discussion table in a couple of minutes. Is starting right now, more or less. Yeah. I'm leaving my microphone here for Jarda Demo to lead you through the discussion table later. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was trying, when I was speaking about the digitalization, I said my Apple Watch before, but I didn't start the time, so I don't know how long I was speaking. So we have to learn.